Stanley is back at it again with a new adventure titled Test Run. It's about time that Belle fills out a job application. She gets a job with this monkey, but uh-oh, Belle is just an absolute klutz. Tangle pulls up and she and Belle find out that the weather is acting kinda freaky recently. Sonic and friends head to the source with Tangle and Belle sneaking in on the adventure too. Soon, however, the rooms in the base are acting pretty trippy. This leads them into a creepy small town. As Tangle and Belle sneak through Eggman's base, we soon find out that badniks don't even react to her. Weird. Sonic, Tails, and Amy venture through the House of Horrors and come across combined badniks. Thankfully, Tangle and Belle are here to stop Orbot and Cubot from the outside. Eggman teleports the trio into a room full of various egg vipers, each with their own elemental capabilities. Tangle and Belle find out that Sonic and friends are in trouble, so Tangle jumps in one of the Rick and Morty portals. We finally get hit with the big reveal that Belle's dad is none other than Dr. Eggman. This confrontation alone sets Belle crying. Oh, and the portals are about to explode. While the homies enjoy another unemployed Tuesday afternoon, Belle just wants her dad back. Test Run is a trippy adventure that gives us some interesting backstory on my favorite FNAF animatronic. Sonic and friends traversing through the town and Eggman speaking through the toaster was quite funny and interesting. Belle's moment was the highlight of this adventure, adding a decent emotional bit to the story. We also get introduced to a new artist. Well, I guess in quotations. While originally joining the art team as a colorist during the Metal Virus story arc, Playboy Cardi Curry does some of the artwork here. It's good, kind of a weird hybrid of Stanley and Thomas about the detail. I gotta say, Evan Stanley's stories were fun. A nice change of pace from the hellhole that was the Metal Virus. I gotta say though too, these stories do feel out of place from said event. You'd really expect the world would have changed in some way, shape, or form from the virus, but it didn't. It feels like these characters just metaphorically walked it off. Anyway, Flynn is back in the driver's seat with Zetis? I'ma be real here, but I don't think the Zeti have that much to work with to make a whole story arc about them. And I'm not even the biggest fan of these guys to begin with. So let's see how Flynn handles these surface level stereotypes that we call characters. 41 begins another battle as usual with Sonic and Eggman. The Doctor is out on the hunt for Zetis after the Metal Virus. Speaking of the Zeti, they're on a rampage through various towns. Since they're far from the Lost Hex, they take the opportunity to wage a full-on attack against the Restoration. The squad joins in on a Zoom call and decide to stay at select locations to round up the Zeti and use Tails' brand new Zeti zappers to subdue them and kick them back to the Lost Hex.
Guess who? It's me, Elbro, and I'm gonna tell you about this. So the panel starts out as the Deadly Six decides to hit a devious lick on a public area. I think Ian Flynn knows something we don't. The Bug, Whisper, and Tangles, and don't forget about Perry the Platypus are in the building. So the Deadly Six was just beating up people, making not so obvious references, and just being menaces. Somebody gotta put NBA Youngboy on the team. So the Bug tells everybody on the Skype call to pull up. Dr. Starline hypnotizes the big fat yellow dude that looks like Phantom. Speaking about Starline, he also beats up Gorilla Dude. And like the little genius that Belle is, she gets kidnapped by Dr. Starline. And who is that? Is that my boy Sonic the Hedgehog? So while Sonic is moving around at the speed of sound, he passes the main villain, Dr. Starline, like a complete idiot. That's it for me. Back to you, Strayster.
Thanks for adding on to the Yap Fest, OG. Before we can get into the fight, it's time to take a detour with a new special to celebrate Sonic's 30th anniversary with the 30th Anniversary Special. 3 stories in one, starting with Seasons of Chaos. Sonic, Tails, and Amy are venturing through Spring Valley Zone and spot a Chaos Emerald, but Metal Sonic shows up only just to take it from them. Knuckles even shows up to explain the same thing literally happened to him over at Angel Island with Metal Knuckles. The trio run off to find Metal, but poor old Amy is left behind, wishing she could prove herself if the homies even gave her a chance. Thankfully, Mighty and Ray are here to help Amy out. Team Sonic comes face to face with the Hooligans and battles for the nearby Chaos Emerald. Unfortunately, they lose the Emerald, or not. While Amy and the others try to catch up, Tails Doll spies on them. As we can see, the Heavy King has been monitoring everybody's Emerald count. Everyone catches up with Eggman in Autumn Forest Zone, and the last Emerald is stolen yet again by another metal robot. Eggman finally spills the beans and explains that Heavy King was put in charge and was a bit too good at his job, and sent out the metal duo to search for the emeralds. Everyone teams up and fights the Heavy King, who's got powers. Sonic decides to hit the Heavy King with some classic roasting.
You smell like you farted.
Farted.
8 beat on the road, if you retarded.
Eggman takes control and is about to stop Sonic and friends, but they're gone. The gang hides the emeralds and thus ends Seasons of Chaos, a fantastic adventure through some beautifully illustrated zones by 3 different artists. Newcomer Thomas Roethlisberger joins up with Yardley and Hammerstrom with colors by Reggie Graham to create one of the best looking IDW Sonic stories so far. The adventure is pretty funny, the bit with Amy's insecurities were handled really well, and having the heroes work together with the villain is always a fun blast. And we're not done yet, as the next adventure features Sonic behind the wheel, with the creatively titled story, Sonic Learns to Drive, written by the McElroy brothers. Sonic is doing his driver's test with his instructor, Kip the Capybara. However, it looks like he doesn't even know the rules of the road. Kip asks what we're all thinking, why does Sonic even need a driver's license? Glizzy. Sonic wants to enter a rally race for a lifetime supply of chili dogs. Too bad he failed his test. He gets a second chance and is doing pretty good, but the race is about to start, and he's gotta get there fast. Kip decides to let him break all the rules to get those chili dogs. This is a silly adventure that decides to focus on the humor and absurdity of Sonic's inability to drive and his love for chili dogs, even influencing Kip to let him break the rules. I had a good chuckle over this one, and it was aided by some fantastic art by another newcomer, Mauro Fonseca, who's done work on the fan continuation of Sonic the Comic. His style captures the style of classic Sonic perfectly, with some fantastic facial expressions and various references scattered throughout the story. The final story focuses this time on Dr. Eggman, written by our final newcomer, Gail Galligan, and art this time by Roethlisberger alone, and colors by Nathalie Foundrain. It's his birthday and he's pretty grumpy. Every year his badniks try to win his affection, but he just tells them to knock it off. This time, however, to make their creator proud, they've waged an attack on Sonic. Eggman calls it off and admits that he appreciates the company of his badniks. They retort with a birthday cake, short but sweet. While I'm not that big on Eggman treating his badniks like his kids, this came off as quite charming actually. They just want to acknowledge that they appreciate him and would go out of their way to fight Sonic just to make him proud. Overall, the IDW Sonic 30th Anniversary is one of the best comics in this series. With fantastic art and hilarious stories, this is the pinnacle of IDW Sonic. Well, time to jump back into the Zeti hunt yet again. As Sonic fights the Zetis, it looks like he's actually getting the upper hand with some help from Tangle and Whisper, but the tides turn as the 6v1 is too much for the Hedgehog to handle. Tails arrives just in time and zaps all the Zetis, but soon, they are all informed that Belle is gone. The Zeti finally get deported back to the Lost Hex. Before they walk into the spaceship, Zavok laughs at Sonic for sparing him and his team, threatening to come back and make him regret keeping him alive. This gives Sonic a flashback of his morality backfiring. He doubles down yet again and states that he won't sacrifice his principles out of fear. His principles in question cause him to manipulate his friends, deny accountability, and act hypocritical towards Metal and Eggman. And through all of that, he still would rather back down instead of standing up and face the facts that he isn't doing a good job at being a hero. The Zeti are finally gone, but we still have a missing puppet to find. Starline tells Belle the truth that her dad, Mr. Tinkerer, is gone, and only Eggman remains. We get more info on Belle and how she was eventually kicked out of the village, as she was blamed by the townsfolk for the metal virus. While she tells her story, he's getting various data about her emotions. Starline escapes with the Chaotix on his tail, and Belle is broken. Emotionally, not literally. And that was Zeti Hunt. Man, I have mixed feelings on this whole adventure. The main attraction of the Zetis had the typical build-up and surprisingly decent second part, with catching Sonic and Co by surprise, and Starline kidnapping Belle for unknown reasons. But the last 2 issues somewhat fall apart with the Zeti vs Sonic, which had some notably unpleasant art by Archie veteran Jamal Peppers. It's strange seeing how static and lifeless his work is here compared to his Archie stuff. Sonic's mindset is slowly deteriorating and is low-key becoming kinda delusional with not learning from his mistakes. The Bell stuff is interesting, but man, it was just underwhelming with how easily they were all taken down. It had a slow introduction, a fantastic ambush, but an abysmal finish. Free Comic Book Day reels us back into the world of classic Sonic, with Amy showing Tails her hobby of making comics of the adventures of Sonic and friends. She is a bit ashamed about it and thinks that they aren't that good, but once Tails shows them off to the locals, they all enjoy them, and even Sonic himself. Amy's new hobby is an adorable story. It's simple and fun. Sonic and friends being supportive of her hobby was incredibly sweet. This little story is on par with the 30th anniversary special for being such an enjoyable read this year. There's technically a second story here called Race to the Empire, but I'm not really counting it as a story since it's just a recap of what's been going on with the series so far. Moving on, we're back with the main series with Trial by Fire. Another Stanley Hood classic here. Amy's going camping with the girls. Whisper's not here though. She's gonna hunt for Mimic because someone freed the homie. The squad sets up camp and plays Uno with these tarot cards. Amy draws Belle's card, but before she can even say what it is, Belle jump scares her and it burns away into the fire. While everyone is sleeping, Belle stumbles across a Motobug who jumps her. Amy and the others wake up to find the whole forest on fire. With Belle and the camp's owner's son missing, the team split up to save the forest. The Motobug helps out Belle, and the two meet up with Tangle to get the hell out of here. Meanwhile, Amy and Joel deal with the campers, who coordinate a plan to contain the fire spread and keep the others safe. Belle, Tangle, and the Motobug find the camp owner's son, who reveals that the cause of the fire was done by two mysterious individuals. As the four of them venture through some rushing water and meeting up with the other campers, Joel has a plan, and with the power of teamwork, they stop the fire. Tangle quits the restoration, Tails fixes up Belle's hand, and Tangle is off to look for Whisper. Trial by Fire is a decent adventure that has some good build-up and character interaction between some of the IDW originals, such as Belle, and especially Joel. However, when the action becomes the center of attention, the story kinda dipped a bit, especially with the final part having them figure out a plan easily and subdue the fire in record time. I like where things are leading up though, with Mysterious Duo and the Chaotix getting involved. But for what it is, Trial by Fire is a good story that kinda suffers in the end with its quick conclusion and lack of tension of the stakes at hand. Our final issue is another mini-series that takes a look at two new original characters as part of Starline's plan to beat Eggman with Impostor Syndrome. By using all of his previous know-how, Starline successfully creates a duo of cybernetically enhanced villains to go toe-to-toe with Sonic and Tails and break the Sonic cycle, Surge and Kit. After another grueling test, Surge wants to go further beyond, but she and Kit get hit with some sleep hypnosis and send them out to do a little trolling at some campgrounds. Too bad some pink hedgehog and her friends put it out. Surge is slowly getting more and more frustrated, but then questions if she even wants to fight Sonic. They haven't even met, so what's driving her to destroy him in the first place? Starline puts the duo into sleep again, and finally puts parts of his plan into action, with taking out one of Eggman's bases. For the first issue alone, Impostor Syndrome does some decent build-up into Starline's little meta moment of getting rid of the never-ending cycle. Surge and Kit come off as a little bit annoying in the first half, but there is some hinted depth into the two, with the realization of what is even causing them to act like Sonic's biggest haters without even knowing him. While I can't say too much about this adventure, it's a nice glimpse into Starline's future outings against Eggman and the Restoration. '21 was actually quite the positive year this time around. The 30th anniversary outings were nothing but pure fun, combined with some amazing artwork to boot. Stanley goes 2 for 2 on some interesting stories, with some fantastic character interaction and development with individuals new and old. While Flynn unfortunately came out the gate stumbling with the Zeti hunt fiasco, he definitely picked things back up with the introduction of Surge and Kit. The future is looking kinda bright here, not gonna lie, but will the last year on this list keep the momentum going? Let's find out with the last year, 2022.